NF Acous might not be a household name yet, but in the world of IEMs, they've quietly built a reputation, especially for their custom in-ear monitors. In fact, they were one of the first Chinese brands to offer IEMs in custom forms in 2014. Since then, their lineup has expanded to cover everything from professional studio monitoring to gaming and casual music listening. Today, we're taking a closer look at one of their latest releases in the music category, the NA20, a dynamic driver in-ear monitor retailing for $120. This set was kindly sent to me for review, and after spending a few weeks with it, I've got quite a bit to say. Let's start with the packaging. The NA20 ships in a modest, typical cardboard box, but it's presented surprisingly well. Inside, you get a neat vinyl-style insert which adds a bit of flair, plus some bonus stickers that were sadly only part of their introductory offer. Accessories-wise, you're well taken care of. It comes with a generous selection of silicone ear tips in multiple sizes, a 1/4-inch adapter for studio use or hi-fi setups, and of course, the detachable 2-pin cable. Overall, I'd say it's a pretty decent unboxing experience. One of the NA20's strength is its build. The housing has a translucent brown shell that's both understated and unique. It doesn't try too hard to look premium but still manages to come off as stylish. The faceplates have a glossy resin-like finish that feels smooth and looks well crafted. They plug into the cable via the standard 2-pin connection, and there's a label on both of the cable and the actual housing to make sure you get it right. The label on the cable is not very visible though. The included cable is lightweight, doesn't seem to tangle much compared to other IEMs that I've experienced. It's also surprisingly a straight plug as opposed to the more convenient L-shaped one. The brand NF Acous is embossed to the plug, which is a nice little touch. I've taken these out with me on commutes and listening sessions around the house, and they've held up just fine. It is a well-built set that feels like it'll last, but only time will tell. The added silicone tips are fairly typical, nothing special with them, but also nothing wrong I can spot off. The medium-sized tips usually work the best for me for IEMs, and it's exactly the case with this earphone. I would say the housing is a bit on the thick, chunky side comparing to some of the similar IEMs in my possession. Having said that, I didn't have problems fitting it into my ears, nor there are any discomfort whatsoever. Speaking of comfort, I'd say it's pretty standard for a comfortable in-ear monitor. It doesn't change the fact that you're jamming something inside your ears, so if you're not too used to that, I can't imagine you'll find this earphone comfortable. If you're used to wearing IEMs or earphones, then this one's pretty good. The NA20 also isolates pretty well passively. I wore this one on various commutes and it did a pretty good job of blocking out a wide variety of noise. Of course, it won't be comparable to a noise canceller weeding out rumbling low frequency noises, but IEMs have advantage in blocking out a good chunk of the middle frequencies, and the NA20 is no exception. I can't really tell if it's any better than other IEMs I have, such as the SimGot EW200, Meze Rai Solo, and even the Pixel Buds, but I'm happy overall with the attenuation of noise that I am getting. Now let's get into the sound, arguably the most important part of any headphone review. The NA20 carries a warm musical tuning that's very easy to get along with. It has a relaxed presentation with a slight emphasis on the low end, which gives it a fuller character without drowning out the mids too much unless you blast out the volume, in which case that becomes more prominent. Vocals come through fine with that added low mid warmth. Instruments have good enough texture to be engaging, and while the treble isn't particularly sparkly, it avoids harshness or fatigue. This makes it a great choice for long listening sessions, whether you're working, commuting, or simply enjoying a playlist. Now, stating the obvious, it's not what I'd call reference or analytical, but it shouldn't be, especially for the price tag. If I would go into the nitty-gritty about its sound, I would say the treble texture is a little artificial or indistinct sounding, so it's definitely good that they are quite recessed. The bass is also not the tightest I've heard, which is only noticeable with fast bass heavy tracks. Soundstage is okay, it's not the widest I've heard, but it's also not super in your head like wireless earbuds such as the Pixel Buds tend to be like. Like most IEMs, the NA20 does not require external amplification, but in my experience it did seem to sound a bit better to my ears when hooked into my Luxman amplifier with Bifrost 2 DAC. Straight from my laptop, it seemed a bit bassier and doesn't sound as good in higher volumes. Overall, it's a pretty decent and safe tuning for pretty much most genres and an overall inoffensive, relaxed sound. I don't have a lot of IEMs in my possession, which you probably know by now, so I can only compare it to a handful. I've been dailying my Pixel Buds for travel and gym sessions pretty much for the past year or so, unless I'm in the mood to bring a larger over-ear headphone. Over time, I thought the Pixel Buds sound just fine as I get more and more acclimated with it. But switching on to the NA20 has disproved that. Easily, the NA20 is the clearer sounding of the two. Against the SimGot EW200, another Chinese IEM, which is slightly cheaper than the NA20. I think they have some similarities in the sound, with the EW200 having some more treble energy than the NA20. It means it's more bright around that area. Not much, but very noticeable. I would say that the EW200 has the more neutral, linear tuning, while the NA20 is the bassier, warmer one. Against the old Meze Solo, the Solo has a wonkier frequency response tuning, and as a result, it sounds odd if not EQ'd because of its V-shaped curve. If EQ'd, I would say it becomes a competitive option, but it was also significantly more expensive than either the NA20 and EW200 based on its retail price. Overall, I have no problems recommending the NF Acous NA20 if you know the tuning you're getting into. It's not a neutral, linear response, nor is it a detail monster. Rather, it's got a modern consumer tuning that is pretty fun, but also pretty inoffensive. Add the good build quality, nice cable, good looks, and the NA20 makes its case even stronger. Now, there are a lot of Chinese IEMs there that provide good value, and it's one of the reasons why they're so popular. Unfortunately, I'm not much of an IEM guy, so I haven't tried most of them, and hence I can't really do much more comparison, especially if I don't have any first-hand experience with them. That being said, all I can say is that the NA20 is a nice little earphone that I can use when I'm not using my big-ass headphones or my Pixel Buds. The tonality isn't my cup of tea, but I don't wear headphones or earphones to always listen critically. That's why I own multiple headphones of varying sound signatures. Sometimes want something extra bassy, other times you want it a bit light and easy. Thanks again to NF Acous for sending this out for review. You can go check it out on their website at nfacous.com, or you can purchase it via various online stores, which I've linked in the description box below. Make sure to also subscribe to our YouTube channel so you are notified of future reviews. You can also check out the text review of the NA20 over at headphone.ph. That's about it for now. See you in the next one. Peace.